The demon was still attacking me. The next thing I know, I was out of my body. I was up in this beautiful, beautiful place. And I had just come from feeling like I had no worth or value. So I didn't understand how they could love me that much. And then they said, "We're family."
Welcome to Prioritize Your Life and PrioritizeYourLife.com. I'm excited today to be here with Hatch Freeman. As per usual, I have no idea anything about your experience except that you've had one, and I can't wait to dig in and learn all about it.
I love it. I love sharing my story, and I love telling my story to someone who has never heard it before.
Yeah,
That'll be extra special.
Yeah.
I want to take you back to my childhood. I grew up in a tiny little town called Scipio. Most people think that it's just a gas station, but people do live there.
Yeah.
And it was a great childhood, growing up riding horses and herding cattle. But something changed in my adolescence. My self-esteem started to plummet, getting depressed, wanting to be alone more. I started, like most teenage girls do, they see a boy, they think, "Oh man, I really like him." And it seems like he's always flirting with the girls that are really skinny. And maybe if I lost weight, he would like me more. Little seeds like that were planting in my mind. And also I had a friend who, she told me, I remember it was my freshman year, last day of school, and was riding home on the bus. And she said, "I'm going to diet all summer long. So when I come back to school next year, I'm going to look so awesome." And I thought, wow, is that what we're supposed to do now that we're in high school, is diet? And so all these little seeds started being planted in my mind, along with the depression. And I started to develop an eating disorder. And I would eat like a slice of pizza, and I would feel so guilty. I'd feel like I'd done something wrong and sinful. And so I thought, well, what do we do when you do something wrong and sinful? Well, you swear to not do it again. So I swore I will never eat another sinful slice of pizza again. And then I cut that out. But then I started feeling guilty for eating a sandwich. Well, got to cut that out. That's making me feel like I've done something morally wrong. So I stopped eating sandwiches. And then the guilt snowballed to eating an entire apple. So I thought, well, maybe if I only eat half an apple, I won't feel so guilty. And then I would over-exercise, because that was another way I could cleanse myself of this filth I would feel when I would eat. And so I'd over-exercise. And it's really fascinating because my disorder wasn't so much linked to weight as much as what it made me feel when I would eat. Psychologists call eating disorders the 10-headed monster, because there's about 10 underlying issues that create the disorder.
Yeah.
And the starving yourself, the eating behavior is actually just a symptom of all these other things going on. And so there's perfectionism. You want to be perfect. It's a control mechanism. Usually there's like a traumatic experience that's happened in your past.
Yeah.
It's about relationships, maybe with like friends, right? I had that friend that said, "Well, I'm going to diet." There's, your parents' situations. It's about so many things, and always depression. So I was losing weight rapidly. So I started out as just a normal teen, normal healthy weight. But because I was doing this behavior so intense, I lost over 50% of my weight. And so here I am in a time period within a year that I should be gaining weight, because you're still developing and growing, and I lost half of my weight. I began growing weaker and sicker. The darkness of this disorder is so bad. It doesn't just rob your body. It robs your spirit. It robs your personality. It destroys relationships, because you're constantly lying like, "Oh, I already ate," or "I can't do this," or whatever. My parents would say, "Come on, Haley, we know there's a problem. We need to get you help." And we would fight and fight all the time. And I would just run in my room and cry. And I just wanted to be left alone with my disease. And it was getting worse. And I could feel my body getting weaker. I could feel myself getting sicker. And I knew that I was looking like a skeleton. I knew I was getting too thin, but the disease is so addictive and it becomes obsessive. Like that's all you think about is how many calories have I eaten? How many calories do I need to burn? What am I going to eat later today? What have I already eaten? It's just an obsession. And I was in denial about it. I was hiding about it because I would wear layers and layers and layers of clothing. One reason I would do that is because I was so cold, because I didn't have that, like any insulation to protect my body, to keep me warm. But I would do that to hide. I would do it to hide the weight loss from my family, from myself. I was just in denial about it. And then when I would take a shower, the mirror in my bathroom was also a cabinet. So I don't know if you've seen those, but if you opened up the cabinet, the mirror would be gone. So I'd open it up every time I took a shower. So I never had to see my reflection. So I could just be in denial about it. One day in particular, I was feeling extra sick. I could feel my body just getting weaker, sicker. And I decided to see what was happening. And I allowed myself to see the reflection. And everything in that mirror was screaming death. I could see my eyes had concaved in, like you see from third world countries where they're starving. My eyes had completely sunken in. I could see my cheekbones had sunken in, and the cheekbones were, the bones were protruding. And you don't realize that there's actually flesh in between your forehead, and your skin, because with nothing there in between, I could see veins. I could see all my veins here popping out, and just complete skeleton. My stomach was sunken in, my bones here, just like, like you'd see a skeleton where the joints of the elbows were larger than the arm. And I could feel my heart pounding and struggling to beat. And I knew that I had pushed myself too far. Like I knew I was dying. And I was scared to take the shower because I was worried that any extra movements I made was going to take calories away from my heart that it needed to live. And so I was scared, or any other organs. I knew I had pushed my body too far. And I could feel it. I was dying. I knew I was dying. And so I finished showering carefully and slowly. I came out of the shower and just collapsed to the floor and started crying. And I prayed. I prayed to God and I said, if you let me survive this moment, like if you let me be able to get dressed and get out without my heart stopping, because I could tell my heart was struggling, then I will go finally to my parents and let them get the help that they've been begging me to get. And I prayed with all my heart, and I knew He heard me, and my prayer was answered. I was able to get out and get dressed. I was able to go to my parents and say, okay, I'm ready for help. So they took me to a place called Center for Change. It's an eating disorder clinic. And when we got there, they said, this girl is the worst we've ever seen. She's the worst. We've never had a patient this sick before. And they told my parents her heart can fail at any minute. Her organs have been probably eating themselves. Her muscles have already eaten away themselves. And it was scary. But they said, but she's willing to get help now. It's so good you brought her in. We feel confident of you taking her home, working with her as an outpatient because she has the desire to get better. And they gave us, I worked with a nutritionist, all these things. But when I got home, the eating disorder just had its addictive claws in me so deep. I couldn't do it. I wanted to, but when you're sitting there with this plate, I couldn't do it. And so I continued to lose weight, and I got sicker. And the thing is, I felt this negative, just darkness, just beating me up, constantly saying, you're not worthy to eat. you're not worthy, especially to eat a dessert. Like, I felt like I wasn't worthy of that. I just felt like I was awful. And I could tell that it was more than just my inner thoughts. I could tell it was something dark, just beating me up, just saying, you're not good enough. You don't deserve to eat. You're awful. You're ugly. You're fat. You're all these horrible things. And I could tell it was just coming from an outside source. And at the Center for Change, one thing they told me is you need to be able to open up to your parents and tell them what you're feeling and what you're going through. And I hadn't done that for so long because this disorder just wants to isolate you, make you feel like you're alone, no one's there for you. But I'm like, I want to get better. And that was the counsel from the therapist there, is to open up to your parents. And when I go speak at schools and things, my dad always would tell me, tell the youth to talk to your parents. Don't hide anything from them. They want to know your heartaches. They want to know your pain. And for a long time, because I was this perfectionist, I thought if I told my parents the dark side of me, the dark thoughts, they'd be disappointed in me. But I want to tell your listeners, please, if there's youth out there, talk to your parents. Go to them. They can help you. So anyway, the next day we went to the cemetery. I have, me and my mom were there. There's kind of a nice little path so you can walk around, and we were visiting the cemetery because I have a little baby sister who passed away. And we were looking at her headstone and kind of just remembering her. And she passed away before I was born. So I didn't know her, but her name was Heidi. And we looked at her headstone, and then we looked on to my grandma's headstone. And again, I never met her in this life because she died really young. My dad was just, I think, 18. She left a really young family. Her younger kids was like 9, really young. But I had heard just wonderful things about her. And so we were just kind of talking about them. And as we walked on, I had this thought, I need to open up to my parents. So I told my mom, I'm like, I think I can beat this disorder if I wasn't feeling this negative attack in my mind of every time I try to eat, telling me I'm worthless and I didn't deserve this food. And every time after I eat, just being like, you shouldn't have done that type of stuff, that guilt. Yeah. And I'm like, do you think it would be okay if I asked Dad for a special blessing, some special prayers to overcome this? If you need extra guidance, extra protection, extra healing, we feel like we could tap into that power from God and have this blessing. And she's like, she was all about it. She was a woman of strong faith. She's like, yeah, let's go do that. We went home and asked my dad if he could give me this blessing, this special prayer to help fight these negative thoughts. And he was a little apprehensive because it was kind of different than a usual prayer. But he's like, sure, he'd do anything for me. And he'd do anything to help me feel better. So we got into our front room. And at that time, I just had my little brother at home with me, even though I have four brothers, 3 older. And so we had the chair in the middle of the room. I was sitting in it. My dad was behind me, and he was going to lay his hands on my head to say the special prayer. My mom and brother were on the couch. And at first, my brother was sitting kind of further away, and I said, Mom, get Travis next to you. And she was like, okay, weird. And I said again, get Travis next to you. And I don't know why I was saying it. All I knew is it was coming out of my mouth. Huh. Then, as soon as my dad put his hands on my head, my body was seized by an evil entity. And I started flipping, like seizing and being attacked. And my body was screaming, not by my voice. Another evil spirit was in my body. And I flipped to the ground. It attacked me to the point of like a seizure-like activity where my body flipped to the ground. And it was clawing at my body inside and I could feel this ripping and tugging and clawing from inside and screaming from my body. That wasn't me. And then my dad went to the ground, put his hands on my head and said, and as soon as he was doing this, all of a sudden my spirit lifted and I could see my grandma in the back. And my sister was next to me on the ground. And my grandma was dressed in beautiful white. And she was floating in the air in the back of the room. And my sister was also dressed in white, and she was next to me on the side. And I felt total peace and love and comfort and no fear and just the immense love. And Heidi said to me, "You need to tell Mom and Travis and Dad that everything's going to be okay." And I'm like, okay. So I fought to get back into my body and just this wrestle to get back. And I said, everything's going to be okay. So now I'm in possession for a minute, but everything's just this wrestle, but I could still see Heidi and my grandma. And then Heidi says, "Tell Mom and Travis again, it's going to be okay." And I said, I already did. But I was in my body and I said this vocally, saying, I already did. And my mom goes, "Who is she talking to?" Because they couldn't see them. And then I said, "Mom, everything's going to be okay." So I said it again. And then I hear my dad say, with his hands on my head, saying, "Satan, leave this girl's body." Well, nothing happened. Heidi goes, "No, tell Dad it's not Satan, it's one of his demons." And so he needs to be specific to say that to make it work. So I tell Dad, it's not Satan, it's one of his demons. So then Dad goes, he's just so frazzled. He's just like, "Okay, demon, leave this girl's body." So then my body rests and I'm okay for a minute. And I'm kind of just in and out and fighting for my body and all this. And then it attacks me again. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So Heidi says, "Tell Dad that this demon is very strong and it needs to be cast out with fasting and praying first." So ironically, me and my dad were reading scriptures together a week or two before, and we had just read in the New Testament, Christ had asked his disciples, because they were having a hard time casting out a demon of sorts, and he said, "You need to fast and pray first." So I said that, and then Dad goes, "Well, there's our answer," because they couldn't figure out why it kept coming back. At the same time this is happening, knock the door happens, and I'm, like I said, kind of in and out, and with Grandma and Heidi telling me things. And I said, "Well, that's Randy at the door." Randy is a man who was in our neighborhood, our church group. And I go, "That's Randy, and he was inspired to come, and he's meant to be a part of this and to be part of the fasting and praying." And they're like, again, "How did she know this?" My mom says, because I'm still laying on the ground and just relaying these messages. So my dad opens the door, and of course it's Randy. So Randy comes in, and my dad's trying to tell him what's going on. And we find out that Randy said, "I drove by a couple days ago, and I saw Haley outside, and I saw how sick she was. And I was with my daughter in the car, and I said, we need to start praying for Haley." And so they had been praying for me ever since. And then he had felt inspired that he needed to come to our house right then. And so he had joined us. So at that time, I was in control of my body. For that time, I was in. And again, I don't know how any of this works or happens. I just know it did. And they said, "Okay, let's start our prayer." And so we kneeled in a circle, and they're like, "Haley, you're so weak. If you need to just lay down, it's okay." And I said, "No, I want to be a part of this." And they're like, "Do you need help kneeling?" And I go, "No, because my grandma and sister are holding me up." So we started the prayer, and Heidi said to me, "You need to build up your strength. You need to eat for this battle that's going to happen. You need to build up your strength." So I remember right after that, my mom had made me just this big plate of waffles and eggs and all this stuff, and I hadn't eaten that for over a year. And I just ate it all because I'm like, I'm eating this for Heidi. I know there's a battle coming. I got to do this. And I just ate it. And then the demon was still attacking me. The next thing I know, I was out of my body and with my grandma and sister up in heaven. I was up in a spiritual place. I was no longer on earth. And I was up in this beautiful, beautiful place. And there was flowers and mountains, and it was beautiful. And we were all in white. She was in white. They were in white. And I don't remember ever touching the ground of any kind, even though I remember seeing flowers and mountains. And I remember feeling so much love from them. And I remember thinking, why do you guys love me? I didn't know you on earth. And I had just come from hating myself so much and feeling like I had no worth or value. So I didn't understand how they could love me that much. And then they said, we're family. You're my sister. You're my grandma. And this family unit is forever. And I just remember being so surprised by that. Not that families are forever, but so surprised that they loved me. And then they went on to show me and teach me some eternal principles. And one thing I thought was really cool is they said, God made our earth so beautiful for us, because he loved you. He loves us. He could have made it just this ugly place for us to live, and the plants would have worked, but he made it beautiful. He made the mountains and waterfalls and beaches and things of beauty because he loves us. Animals, same thing. He gave us animals not just to help us with work or food or what have you, but for our pleasure and our joy. And they were explaining this, and they're just because he loves us and wants to give us pleasure and joy on this earth. They emphasized to me how we can take knowledge and talents that we develop here on with us, but the importance of that versus worldly things like money or cars and things, and how insignificant those things are, and but how important it is for those relationships we build here, because we can take that with us, and the knowledge, and we can take those on. And then I remember them talking about opposition, and this was interesting because, of course, we know there's wrong, there's right, there's light, there's darkness, there's opposition, but they're saying there's opposition in all things to the extent of Satan will make a counterfeit to everything that God has that's right and good. And they were giving me examples, like they said we have tools like scriptures, and we have tools like personal revelation, where maybe you feel a gut feeling like, oh, I shouldn't go down this road, or I shouldn't do this, or a gut feeling about maybe I should talk to so-and-so today, or check in on them. This little gut feeling that we have, that is an actual direct communication from God giving us these feelings. But Satan will create a counterfeit of this, of his tools like Ouija boards, or maybe fortune tellers that use a dark source for their information. And they told me that this is his counterfeit to what God has, and that's an opposition. Then they went on and told me about how there's a ripple effect to our actions, like when we serve others or just smile at somebody, how it will go on to a ripple effect, and how important it is just to bring light and goodness and service and joy to other people. And then they showed me how this works. And now this is a little personal, but it's also verifies a truth that's in the scriptures, again in the New Testament, in Matthew again, about the principle, if you forgive others, you will be forgiven, and how you judge others, you will be judged. And they said, Haley, because you have forgiven others who have hurt you in your past, you've been forgiven. You've been forgiven and found pure to have these certain blessings in your life. And they showed me how this principle was true because of the forgiveness I was able to give somebody that hurt me. And so I know that principle is true. And then I was in that whole atmosphere. is like you're breathing the love of Christ and God. Like it's like you're breathing it. And it's like the sun, like when you go outside, you can't help but to feel it. You don't have to try to feel it. That's what it's like there. You don't have to try to feel Christ's love there. It's just there. You're just soaked in it. And I didn't get to see the Savior, but I felt him. And I wish I could have seen him. Sometimes I'm like, I know others have. Why didn't I get to see him? But I felt him. And my sister and grandma testified of his divinity to me. Then they went on and told me some personal missions that I needed to still complete. They said, your mission on earth is not finished, but you have agency. If you want to stay here with us and your body will pass on, then that can be an option. But if you want to return and complete your mission, then that's an option. And you have complete agency to pick, but we want to show you what you still have to do. So they said, you need to learn sign language. And I was like, whoa, that's not on my radar.
Very specific.
Very specific.
Yeah.
I'm from this teeny little ranch town. Never met anybody that was deaf. But they said, you need to learn sign language. I'm like, okay. And I was getting more excited about having a future. And you have to remember, where was I just, a year, months, weeks ago? I was in such a depression to the point where I would pray for God to not let me wake up the next day. I was in such a dark place. But now I'm seeing there's a future, and I'm feeling hopeful and happy about this future. But this is what cinched it for me, is they showed me my son that I was supposed to still have. They showed me him as in this, the spirit I saw was a young man. And they told me that he was going to be a powerful spirit on earth, and I needed to come back to bring him to this world and to raise him. So I was all in. I was like, I'm going back at that point, and I couldn't wait to be a mom. And this would have been another miracle in the sense of, by medical reasoning, one of the things that they had said is the damage to my reproduction organs was so severe they didn't think I'd be able to have kids again or ever. So but I was so excited once I saw this, and I said, right away, I'm going back. And they were so pleased and happy for me to make this decision. And so that was all set. All right, so I returned to my body, and the times between Earth and the spirit world do not match up. They do not match up at all, because I felt like I was with them for, I don't know, a half an hour or something. But by the time I returned to my body, a whole day had passed. I looked down, and my body had been so beat up. I had bruises all over. I had rug burns. I had bruises on my legs because my mom said that the demon that was kicking furniture, kicking walls. I had been thrashing on the ground, so I had rug burns all along my legs. And I was just so beat up, and I didn't understand how I got anything of this. And she said, well, we've had everyone over. We've been fasting for 24 hours. Another member of our church who had cast out demons before, so he knew exactly what to say. And he said that one of the reasons why, like along with the fasting and the praying that we needed to do, he said demons will only do exactly what you tell them. And so we were casting them out, but we weren't saying you cannot return. And so he had to say, do not ever return back into this girl, and not to return into our home either. So we had to bless all that, say all those specific things. So then they thought, okay, good. We're out of the woods. Everything's fine. I'm back. I'm being just me. And, oh, one more thing. I have to go back. So after I chose to come back to my body, my sister and grandma said, but the road is still going to be really hard. Your recovery is going to be really hard. Your body has been deprived for so long, and the recovery is going to be rough, but we will We'll be there for you. We'll help you through it. And here's some things that you need for your recovery. And they said, number one is you need to tell your counselors and everything. Be honest about everything because like I said, there's 10 heads to this monster of anorexia. So you need to tackle all 10 heads to recover. So they were telling me, you need to be honest about all these aspects. Things that that I would have not wanted to go there type stuff. They said, you need to talk about everything to heal. And I'm like, okay, I could do this. Then they said, another thing, you have to have a passion. And they said, that's one reason why you need to learn sign language, because it will become your new passion that will help you heal. Because when you have an eating disorder, that becomes your obsession. It becomes your identity. And a lot of people don't want to let go of that identity because they feel like, well, who am I if I'm not the girl with anorexia? Well, now I'm the girl that knows sign language. And then also when you're obsessing with those intrusive thoughts of your eating, I could flip to, no, I'm going to go through my sign language book. I'm going to learn this instead. So they were giving me tools to heal. Yeah. So they're giving me this guidance. And then I remember being so sad to not want to leave them. But at the same time, I was excited to have this future now. So I come back. I'm excited to come back. And I know there's people that have had near-death experiences like, I don't want to go back, but I was excited. So I come back.
I know that I'm going to write a book explaining all the things that I went through from the anorexia and then the other experiences, like when I was with my grandma and was hiding in the garden. The garden is so pretty with flowers. The mountains in the background was so pretty. And I was there with my grandma and my sister. And it felt so good to meet my grandma and to meet my sister. It felt so good. And I don't want them to ever leave me because it felt so good to be with them. But now I know that I'm on earth for a reason, a purpose, and I know everything has a purpose. I know every single person has such a purpose in life.
But I remember being very frustrated with how slow our bodies were to communicate. Because when I was communicating with my sister and grandma, it was instant and so fast. And you felt what they said. Like if they say, I love you, you don't just hear it, you feel it, and everything was instant and fast. And I came back to my body and I'm like, this communication is so slow. Come on. Like I remember being with my brother and being like, why can't you just read my thoughts? It's so slow. So I was very frustrated for a while with how slow my body was and our communication was. I remember being very frustrated with that. So a little time had passed. And again, so much damage had been done to my body. And then my brain started to break. So what happens when your brain and your nervous system doesn't have enough fat to work? It can't. It literally can't. So my brain started to not recognize what to do with things. I remember I was sitting there with a plate of food and I was going to eat it. But then all of a sudden I looked at the plate and I think it was just TV dinner. Do you remember TV dinners back? Yeah. I'm sure they still exist, but and everything in there looked like a snarled up goop of hair and metal, except for the peas. There was a little compartment of peas and that looked fine. And I couldn't understand or very much what to do with a fork. I started getting confused about what to do with the fork. And so my sister-in-law was there trying to help me eat. And they're like, and when she would scoop up this hairy, snarled up mess of metal trying to feed me, I'm like, why is she trying to feed me this? And I started push it away. And I was so confused. Why is she trying to feed me this? And then when she'd scoop up the peas, I'm like, okay, I'll eat that. And so my mom and my sister-in-law are like, why is the only thing she's eating the peas? And they couldn't understand what's happening. And then all of a sudden I started getting more and more confused about my environment, and I started losing sentences. I couldn't complete sentences coherently. And they're like, what is going on with her? And so they took me to the ER. They put an IV in me right away, and I didn't understand what's happening, so I ripped it out. I couldn't tell them what my name was anymore. I was just in this place of psychotic behaviors completely. I was kicking at them, and my mind had just lost it. And so because of my behaviors, even though they said, okay, her heart's going to stop at any minute here, her liver and her kidneys are completely failing. My hair was falling out in clumps at this point. My skin was completely starting to turn dull and gray and flaking off. And they said, even though she needs medical help, her psychotic behavior is so bad that we are not prepared to help her with this. So they put me in the psych department, adolescent psych department. Well, the problem with that is there's nobody there to help you with the medical stuff, and there's no aid in helping you eat and things, where my mom and them were having to hand feed me because I didn't know what to do with a fork anymore. So they put me in there, and they said parents aren't allowed in here because it's the psych department. Parents aren't allowed, no one's allowed. They put me in there, and I'm so confused and so lost. And I remember they bring in a tray, a hospital tray of the food, and then they have that dome, the blue heavy dome over the food. I was so weak, I couldn't lift it off of myself. And not only that, I didn't understand what was happening either. So I remember smelling the food, being like, I think there's food under here. I think I'm somewhere that they're trying to torture me, because they're giving me food, but they're making it impossible for me to get. So my brain is thinking, they're torturing me here. And I couldn't get to it. I wanted to. I was starving. I was to the point of dying if I didn't get these calories. But they didn't understand. So they come in, and the nurse just scoffs at me, saying, oh, that's the anorexic patient. She's not eating. And then they take it. And I'm not able to brush my hair. I don't understand what to do with a brush. I don't understand what to do with anything. And I'm just in this rampage. I don't understand what to do with sheets on the bed. I'm pulling them off. And so my mom comes in the next morning, because they had taken me at the evening, and I am in a mess. And then I see my mom, and I finally just have a moment of clarity and relaxation, like, Mom, help me. And my mom's like, why isn't someone feeding her? Why is she not being taken care of? Why is she in this hurt, state? And she's losing more weight. And what is happening? Don't we have the same goal to save this girl's life? And then, so my mom goes, I am not leaving this girl. I don't care what you do or where I have to go or who I have to fight. I'm not leaving this girl. I'm saving this girl. And so she went and fought the hospital administration and said, I'm staying. And so from that point, my mom stayed there, and she had to hand feed me, not unlike a toddler. It took hours to feed me. And she brushed my hair. Here I am, 16 years old. I was a 4.0 student, and I didn't know how to brush my hair because of anorexia. And she brushed my teeth for me. She put lotion on my skin. She put Vaseline on my lips that were cracked and bleeding. And she dressed me, and then she would have to bathe me because I didn't understand what to do with a shower or bathing. And she just saved my life. So we had many miracles that time in the hospital. The doctor said to her, you need to prepare for her death because we've never seen someone to this point live. But by a miracle, they said, if she lives, she'll be in this mental state forever. And they'd already referred me to the state mental hospital to live. But my mom's like, nope, I don't accept that. And we believe in miracles, and here I am. But like I said, there's a lot to that hospital stay because I was there a month. And I don't have time to tell all of it here on the podcast, but I have written a book that it's in there. When I went to get my hospital records, it was over 80 pages because they had signed me as a text to watch me nonstop. And so they had the notes. And in my book, at the beginning of my books, I have my actual journal entries because I kept a journal every day. And then when I was in the hospital, the beginning of the chapters are the tech notes of what I was doing. So it's pretty fascinating on a psychological standpoint to see that. And I thought, well, gosh, what would I even name it? If I can't even think of a name for my book, then there's no chance I can actually write a book. And so I was praying about it and praying about it. And then one night I was in my bed and I heard a voice say, "A future for tomorrow." And I'm like, what? And then I heard it again, "A future for tomorrow." And I was thinking, what is this? And then the third time I felt my sister, and I heard my sister's voice very clear. And I knew it was Heidi, and she was telling me the name of my book, "A Future for Tomorrow." And I'm like, that makes so much sense because I didn't think I had a future, and then she gave me the future. And so my book is named by an angel. And so I learned then that she would still be there with me and that she would be there to guide me and help me. And that was the first experience I had after this, where I had that thinning of the veil, where she was there. So I was able to heal pretty quick once I got home. I had to continue with, therapy and things to work everything up. About a year later, I was able to be pretty much at full health, which is remarkable. I was able to join the tennis team, and I was even voted in the yearbook as the friendliest in our high school. Going from depression and being alone and isolated to voted the friendliest in our high school. Pretty cool. I was so anxious to begin following the advice that I got from my angels, from my sister and my grandma. So that was learn sign language. I was so excited to start doing this. And I had already told my parents. They were eager to support me as well. So they had bought me a whole bunch of sign language books. This was back before there were apps or, YouTube videos, anything like that. They gave me a whole bunch of books. And I just remember opening these sign language books, and I could just see the signs for the first time and just know it. It was like I was just remembering this language. Like it wasn't like learning it for the first time. It was like I was just remembering it, and I could learn it so fast. I could just see all the signs for the first time. And just a month or two later, I entered the new school year. And for the first time ever in our tiny little high school, there was a deaf girl on the front row with an interpreter. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's deaf. She's signing. They're signing. She's deaf. And I was so excited. I just knew I needed to meet her. And so as soon as the assembly was over, I ran up to her and I signed my name. And I'm like, I want to be your friend. And I was so excited. And we became best friends, lifelong friends. We're still friends. And she taught me the rest of this beautiful language. I now do sign language classes, and it's just brought a beautiful future for me. That mission that my amazing sister and grandma told me to do. And something I forgot to mention when I was with her in this heavenly place, before I left, I asked them. They said they'd be there for me and with me through my life, but I asked very specifically, and this is very typical of a 16-year-old, I think, to ask. I'm like, well, will you guys be there for my wedding? And they're like, yes, we promise we'll be there at your wedding. And so the time had come. I had met the man of my dreams, and we were getting married. When I was walking into the room where we'd be married, I felt my grandma and my sister so strong, the same as if I was with them before. And so I started crying. I knew they were there, and they kept their promise to be there. And so it was another testimony to me that our angels, our loved ones will be with us, not just in the hard times, not just to help us and protect us, but to celebrate the happy times. Your loved ones are with you, not just in the hard times, but to celebrate and to be there at the happy times too.
Thank you so much for sharing. What an incredible experience that I'm sure can help so many people struggling with all kinds of different forms of addiction, and especially with disorders like this. So thank you so much. My first question, I'm curious, this is my first time ever interviewing anybody that's had direct issues with a demonic force like this. And I'm just curious if you think Was there anything that you did in your young age that you think could have invited that evil into your life, or why, that possibly happened?
Good question. When we were in the hospital afterwards, they said they'd actually seen it many times with anorexia because your body is just so weak.
Yeah.
You can't fight it off. And then I think it is the depression, that energy, that low vibration does attract it too.
Sure.
But I absolutely didn't do anything in the sense of like, I was very spiritual. I was always reading scriptures. I was always studying gospel topics.
Sure.
When your body is that low, the depression is that low, it attracts it. And also I was sharing this story to a very prominent man of our society, author, big personality. And he said to me, the same thing happened to me. And he said, for some reason, Haley, we're supposed to have a testimony of Satan. And I think that's one of Satan's tools, is to try to make people think he's not real.
Yeah.
And if we're not armed with knowing what is real and what we're against,
Yeah.
That's scary. We need to know.
Against it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure. With your expertise in this particular area, if you could sit down right now in front of someone that is dealing with a disorder like this, or is considering, some form of addiction or having this kind of a disorder, what would you tell them?
So a few things. One is to share, obviously, what they're going through, go to help. One is realize that, like, find a passion. It's like, it is part of their identity right now, but realize you don't want it to be. Find something else. People with anorexia have a very tender heart usually. They want to help others. So realize you can't help others until you help yourself to get out of this. And find that fire. You have such a fire, a stubbornness you have, and use that stubbornness, that fire, to beat it. I realized my mind is what kind of got me into it. My mind of, oh, I'm not going to eat this, and the willpower of your mind to get like the disorder. So I realized I was going to use the power of my mind to get me out of it.
Yeah.
And so you can do it. You can get out of it. And then, so get help. The statistics of people who die with this that don't get help are massive. It's massive. It's actually the number one psychological problem of people who die. But with treatment, that goes down to just 2%. It's 20% you die without treatment, 2% if you get treatment.
Sure.
And there is hope. So many people think it's a life sentence. It's not. And I'm here to show you there is hope to not have it for your life. You
Right.
can have a happier life.
Yep.
Also, like I said, depression is with it. Please know you don't want your life to end. You want the way your life is going at that moment to end. And we can fix that. There's help to get the way your life is with that disorder to end. And there's a happiness, a joy out there for you that you can have better than you could ever imagine without this illness. And you can be free of it.
Yeah.
So just remember that. You just want the way your life, that is how it's going right now, to end, not your life to end.
I can't thank you enough for sharing this beautiful story, and I know it will go on to help so many people. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.